What's up, guys? This is Webby back again for a exclusive podcast for you. The Survivor Series Part 3. We are up to 1989 in this series I am doing for you. This Survivor Series is built around two mammoth matches. The Ultimate Warriors versus the Heenan family. And it is built around a huge mammoth matchup and movie. It is built around a movie. No holds barred. As the $1 Million Team took on the Hulkamanicas, where Hulk Hogan led his team of Jake the Snake Roberts and Demolition, and the $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase led in Zeus and the Powers of Pain. That awesome matchup, which was built around the movie because Zeus, the monster that destroyed everybody on No Holds Barred and wanted Rip in that contest, which Hulk Hogan played as, was centered around this pay-per-view. And then, of course, you had other matches such as Roddy's versus Rude Brood, amongst other matchups that we will be discussing and going over right here on this review. First off, the Dream Team versus the Enforcers, Dusty Rhodes, Brutus the Barber Beefcake, the Red Rooster, and Tito Santana versus the Big Boss Man, Bad News Brown, Rick Martel, and the Honky Tonk Man. This contest, the opening contest of the Survivor Series. What can you say about this opening matchup? Bad News Brown once again shows us why he does not belong at the Survivor Series in a tag team matchup. He belongs in singles matches and that he's a loner. He gets waylaid by the Big Boss Man by mistake, on accident, and then he says, forget this, I am gone, I'm out of here, sayonara, goodbye. Bad News Brown eliminated by countout in this contest. We saw it the year before. Why are you going to put Bad News Brown in there again? Mix it up. Why show us the same thing twice? Interesting to see, but why do we need to see that 2 times in a row? Bad News Brown eliminated. Biggest thing to really watch in this matchup was at the end of it, Dusty Rhodes and Bruce Beefcake was the sole survivors in this by a high crossbody after being whipped across the ropes. Dusty Rhodes gives that to the Big Boss Man for 1, 2, 3, and then Big Boss Man goes to work on Bruce the Barber Beefcake and Dusty Rhodes, the American Dream, with the nightstick, cold cocking Bruce the Barber Beefcake with the nightstick. He gets knocked to the outside, and then Dusty Rhodes gets handcuffed to the ropes and then gets busted right on the forehead, and then maybe has some bruised ribs and a slight concussion, they announced later on during the show. So, Big Boss Man feeling absolutely no remorse and says that Dusty Rhodes is a prisoner of the state now and that he is his prisoner. he gives up no rights, all his rights as a human being, as he states in a interview with Sean Mooney immediately following that contest. Big Boss Man doing great, awesome work in this pay-per-view. He was a tremendous heel when he was with the Doctor Style Slick before he turned a babyface, and this was right before he did. So, absolutely fantastic work by the Big Boss Man in this contest. The King's Court versus the 4x4s. The 4x4s. The former king of the WWE, Hacksaw Jim Duggan. He leads his team members in of Rugged Ronnie Garvin, Bret the Hitman Hart, and the mighty Hercules versus the King's Court and Macho King Randy Savage, Greg the Hammer Valentine, Dino Bravo, and the Canadian Earthquake. This contest, the 4x4s, as soon as they got into the squared circle, they wanted to start hitting the King's Court with those 2x4s, with those boards, running into the ring with boards, as Jesse the Body Ventura stated. Gorilla Monsoon and Jesse the Body Ventura were just absolutely fantastic, feeding back and forth off each other. Third year in a row these guys was doing this at the Survivor Series, but especially during that liner and when they got inside the squared circle, it was hilarious. However, in this contest, the 4x4s really didn't stand a chance at all. The King's Court tore apart piece by piece and eliminated the 4x4s. Greg the Hammer Valentine was the only one to get eliminated from the King's Court. Everybody else was the sole survivor on that team. They eventually eliminated Hacksaw Jim Duggan last because of sensational Queen Sherry pulling down the rope and Hacksaw falling out of the ring. Earthquake double axle him to make sure he does not get back in, and he gets counted out. Hacksaw Jim Duggan made an awesome effort to come back. He had his spots, made it funny, for the fans. But WWE always seemed to put one of those matches where the entire team almost got to be the sole survivor. And it always seemed to be the heel team that got that. Hacksaw Jim Duggan seemed to be the short end of the stick in this year. So, Hacksaw made it funny, though, at the end when he came in and waffled everybody with the 4x4. Coming in next, the Ultimate Warriors versus the Heenan family. This contest, the Ultimate Warrior led in Jim Neidhart and the Rockers. This matchup had some controversy in it because it was supposed to be the Brain Busters. And they announced that there was pushing and shoving and arguing and bickering and all different types of stuff in amongst the Heenan family. And all of a sudden, we get to the Heenan family versus the Ultimate Warriors, and we don't see the Brainbusters. We see Bobby, the Brain, Heenan, and Arn Anderson joining Haku and the eighth wonder of the world, Andre the Giant, for the Heenan family's team. Andre the Giant, this year's Survivor Series, gets eliminated just like that. He gets caught at the start of the matchup, and Ultimate Warrior knocks him out cold, clean, over the top rope. He's gone. Huge blow for the Survivor Series team in this matchup. Absolutely. I mean, and of course, Bobby the Brain Heenan couldn't do anything. He barely did anything. You know, he was the last one to get eliminated. Of course, the Ultimate Warriors was going to win this matchup. You know, but Ultimate Warrior was a sole survivor. Ultimate Warrior, you know, played mind games with Bobby the Brain Heenan towards the end of the matchup. Arn Anderson looked very impressive. And of course, you can't ever say that Haku doesn't. And when doesn't the Rockers look impressive as a tag team back in those days? When don't they? In this year, during this contest, very impressive the Rockers did. So, it was a great tag team encounter, and the Ultimate Warrior, of course, picking up the victory as the sole survivor. Roddy Piper rode his team into the Survivor Series. Superfly, Jimmy Snuka, and the Bushwhackers. Roddy's Rowdies, they took on Rude's Brood. Ravishing Rick Rude, Mr. Perfect, and the Fabulous Rougeau brothers. This matchup, you know, what can you say about this contest? The Bushwhackers, they're a bunch of nutcakes. I mean, they're funny, but they're freaks. And every time they're in a match, they quickly get disposed. Superfly Jimmy Snuka, he is always a sight to see. He's awesome. You know, I mean, but he puts on great contests every time you see the Superfly in a match. But this was all centered around Roddy Piper and Ravishing Rick Rude and their epic rivalry back in 1989. And what can you say? You have one smart aleck, one, you know, casual everyday guy versus the guy that can't get enough of himself, and the guy that just loves to show himself off and say that he is the best looking guy in the world, and Ravishing Rick Rude, that makes all the fans puke. And this matchup came down to Mr. Perfect and Superfly Jimmy Snuka, in which Mr. Perfect was the one they were trying to build up. Mr. Perfect did pick up the victory of course, they're not going to have Superfly Jimmy Snuka beat Mr. Perfect. This is not going to happen. Mr. Perfect hadn't been in the WWE very long. And this is not happening. It's not going to happen. It's not. But Mr. Perfect, the winner in this contest, Rowdy Piper and Ravishing Rick Rude counted themselves out, double count out, fighting all the way into the backstage area. Mr. Perfect victorious. And finally, in one of the main events, what this pay-per-view really was built around and centered around Hulk Hogan leading the Hulkamaniacs versus the $1 Million Team. Ted DiBiase leading his teammates in. You know, everybody knows that Hulk Hogan's going to win this contest. I don't even have to tell you that. Is it a good build? I mean, Hulk Hogan already was in the mix of having a rivalry with $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase. Jake the Snake Roberts was having a rivalry with Ted DiBiase. Ted DiBiase has stolen, Damien. Tried to steal Damien at WrestleMania 5. So that was all brewing as well. Demolition was in a rivalry with the Powers of Pain. That shows you how far they would take rivalries back in the old days. All the way back, that was a year from Survivor Series 1988. That was awesome that they would take a rivalry that far. You don't see that kind of stuff now. And then you have Zeus and Hulk Hogan, which really they was just advertising a movie and building a movie. And at the same time, they was building towards a steel cage match with the Macho King Randy Savage and Zeus versus Hulk Hogan and Brutus the Barber Beefcake. Because what happened after this contest, when Macho King Randy Savage and Zeus attacked Hulk Hogan and Brutus Beefcake, in which was leading towards the steel cage match before the movie played. All of this building up to No Holds Barred debuting. Now, was this an awesome matchup? Did it deliver? Powers of Pain get disqualified by doing a double. This is so cheesy. So cheesy. They get disqualified by doing a double spike pile driver to Hulk Hogan. Zeus gets disqualified. Now this isn't cheesy. I understand. Zeus, not a wrestler. Zeus, you don't need to have out there that much that long. Have him do a little bit and then back to the showers. Takes Hulk Hogan and chokes him out. And then puts his hand on the referee 3 or 4 times. So he gets DQ'd. That was the first thing, and then Powers of Pain was the second. So all the members of Ted DiBiase's team was disqualified. And of course, $1 Million Man gets pinned by Hulk Hogan. The match itself was a good contest. Did it deliver as the main match? Because the Ultimate Warriors versus the Heenan family was the main event. It was a good match. The best match I've ever seen? No. But take it as you will. 1989 Survivor Series contest to build for a movie. It did its job. Y'all let me know what you're thinking in comments below. Subscribe to the channel. Twitter and Facebook at 2007 Webby. Monday Night Raw review tonight will be on the channel. Go back and watch. SummerSlam review. Go back and watch Survivor Series 1988, 1987 reviews. They are up on the channel right now for you to tune into amongst everything else that you have missed. Until I see you again, this is Webby, and I'll catch you on the other side. Talk to you later.